Hi, today I'd just like to show you 3 items I've recently purchased that are quite of some interest. The first one I'd like to say is this one here. It's quite a small end to it, so my thumb, it's a smallish cup. So it's more likely a toddy ladle rather than a ladle for soup or for punch, which would probably be a bit bigger. This one's smaller, made of silver. There's no date letter. It is probably Georgian, late Georgian, maybe 1790s, something like that, 1800. There is a lion passant on it, so it is silver, but I cannot at the moment find any date mark. So from the style of it, it's got this beautiful beading around the edge, along the front. And then on the end, it's got this twirled, I think it's called barley twist type of handle, and then a silver little knobble at the end. Now these are very typical of the Georgian period, because whales were very they were hunted in vast numbers for their blubber, because their blubber was very good for oil lamps in the electric age. Blubber from whales was very good. It gave clean light rather than other types of light, and so whales unfortunately were often hunted in great numbers. Now toddy, if it is a toddy ladle, the history of toddy is, the first reference to it is in the mid-18th century, about 1750s. And what it is whiskey, but with other items such as honey, cloves, lemon, that sort of thing, just to give it a different taste. And it would have been used on very cold Scottish days. And it would have been used in Britain as well. You know, all of Britain would have had toddies. And so it is a drink made particularly from whiskey, but with other added items. Now, it's made out of silver, because silver is quite flexible. Now, as in all these silver items, silver was not used everywhere. It was only the very few, the landed gentry and the nobility, that could have silver. Everybody else would have had pewter or wood. So these were only for the gentry, and also those people who could afford whiskey and that sort of stuff. So it would have had a punch bowl or a bowl that you've had your toddy in, and then you would have scooped it out with this. Now I'll just show you on this. It does bend. There is bend here, so that if it went onto the bottom of the bowl, it would bend and not break the bowl or break the ladle. So there's flexibility there. It's built into this here. So a toddy ladle. So if you fancy having a whiskey with something else, you can always buy one of these and put a nice cut crystal bowl from the charity shop and impress your friends. So that is what I think is a toddy ladle, or maybe a punch ladle, but it seems very small for a punch ladle. You wouldn't get much punch out of here. Usually punch ladles are bigger to fill a big cup, because that's much more. So that's the first item. The second item is this very ornate christening spoon. I'll just increase the magnitude and see if we can zoom in a bit more. Look at that. It's actually got, I've covered the name just for privacy of the person it was given to, but you can see this spoon has got a clock, and it's got November 1931, And then it's got 20 pounds or 7 pounds and 20 ounces. So it's got a lot of information on this christening spoon. So it's got the birth and the weight. A beautifully made piece of silver spoon. Look at that. So it's a one-off. Whether these were mass-produced and then the last bit was engraved, I don't know, but a very beautiful christening spoon. And there's a stork, I think it is, with a beak and the eyes. So there's often in British mythology that storks bring babies. I'm not sure how that comes about, but there you go. On the back, there's not much on the back. I'll just a bit of sellotape where I've sellotaped over the name. And then you've got the date marks and the date letters and things like that on the back here, showing it is sterling silver. It's been hallmarked. This has got quite a tragic end to it because the person this was given to became a lieutenant in the Navy, and he died in a naval accident at the age of 24. So very sad end to this. But when this was made, nobody knew what their future held. None of us do, really. This life is very mysterious. I think my epitaph at the end, if I'm going to have my last few words, will be, what the hell was all that about? Because nobody really knows. I think I'll put that on my tombstone. What the hell was all that about? Look at those claws, very beautifully made. And that face, and his arms. Very beautiful, beautiful spoon. So that's that. And the last thing I've got to show today is this. And it's a theatre I forgot what we called it, pamphlet, and it shows you the gas lights are now introduced over the whole stage. New Theatre Royal, English Opera, Strand, this present Thursday, September the 14th, 1817. So this is only 2 years after the Battle of Waterloo. And they liked this period and also up to the early Victorians. They loved to do different fonts. Everything was in different fonts. And again, if you look at my other video, I've done another video of some of these stage leaflets. And they, in this period, they gave everything 2 titles. So this is called The Purse or The Benevolent Tar. Why they gave everything 2 things, I don't know. And then you've got the names. And then another one, because they're often been that you don't just see one, you see 2 or 3 small sketches or plays, and then you had some interlude and maybe even dancing as well. It seems to be a lot of things happening at the same time. And it's called, another one's called Rich and Poor. Again, you've got the name of all the people. And another one called Fire and Water. Again, you've got all the names. Begins at 7 o'clock. Boxes 5 shillings, pits 3 shillings, galleries 2 shillings. Upper gallery, as you can see, different prices. And then you've got the Chinese Walk, introduced in the shrubbery. And again, telling you about the times. An entire and novel change will take place. There you go. I'm afraid if you want to take tickets for this, I'm afraid it's all gone now, so. And then unbounded applause and incessant laughter, attending every performance of the new operetta called Fire and Water, and it will be repeated every evening till further notice. We've got another piece here. Tomorrow, the wizard and with fire and water, the bachelor's wives. And then there's a new comic operetta called The Disguises. And again, we got the principal adopted child there. So you can pause it if you want to have a look more detail. So again, this is quite an old, if people are into theatre going, the Strand, it's an old billboard type thing that had been given out. Very few survive, so it's quite a rare item, I think. But I find these things very interesting about what people were doing, because you never know, you feel more that the 19th century, late 18th century, beginning of the 19th century, 1810s, that period which I'm quite interested in, it is much more of a modern, you've got a feeling of a modern society. They're going to these functions. If you went back to say 100 years before that, maybe 1650, these things wouldn't have happened. There would have been you would have found it much more stranger. Their ideas about religion affecting everything in your life, and society being very dependent on religion and on a social structure much more. But by the 18th, 19th century, these were starting to crack a bit, and you're getting much more individualism, much more it was the age of commercialism, because you've got the start of the railways, the start of mass production of household items, and so it became a much more modern society, a consumer society based on money rather than your rank in society. And also the rise of the middle class, which was very small in the early days, but by this time the middle class was quite significant, and they were the ones who had a small bit more money, and they were able to go to theatres. They were able to buy these toddy ladles. So I hope that was of interest to you. Please look at my other videos. Hit the subscribe, please, and the like buttons. It all helps to get more people to see these items, which I hope you find of interest. Thank you very much. Bye.